Hi, my name's Sonjia and this is my channel, See It Then, See It Now. I'm not going to say much, let's just jump straight in. Unfortunately, the video footage for the first couple of steps on this one has disappeared, so I've had to refilm the first steps using this teeny tiny piece of board just so that I can show you the process. The first thing I did was cut the piece of wood to fit the frame. I wanted the background to have an embossed look, but obviously not where the writing was going to be, so I marked the board to ensure that area stayed flat. I also put the board into the frame and drew a line all around to mark where the frame comes to, because I needed to make sure the embossed area didn't go all the way to the edge, so that the lip of the board still sits flush behind the frame. To create the embossed parts, I used this stencil on the big board, but for my teeny tiny board I'm going to use this heart stencil instead. I didn't want any of the hearts to be upside down, so I covered parts of the stencil with masking tape so that I was just left with the pattern I wanted to use, and with a palette knife I covered the stencil with the textured paste and I smoothed it over. Once it was evenly covered, I removed the stencil. I made the textured paste using paint, glue and talcum powder. Then it was just a case of continuing this until all the area was covered. If you do give this a go, you need to be careful you don't touch the area that you've completed with the stencil, or it will smudge the paste. Having said this, it is a really easy process, and the best thing is, if you do make a mistake or accidentally smudge it, you can just scrape up the paste and do it again. So I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm just going to put a few in these bits here, and then it's ready for the next bit. Once the paste was dry, I gave the big board 2 coats of French Chic paint in the colour Swanky Pants, and once that was dry I painted the embossed area with silver acrylic paint. For my teeny board I painted with Johnson's Cushion White Chalky Furniture paint, and although I did paint the hearts silver, I wasn't happy with them. I felt the silver looked really good against the grey background, but I didn't like it against the white, so I gave this a rethink and will show you the end result later in the video. Here we have the big board and the video footage that hasn't disappeared. As you can see, I typed out the words in a font that I like the look of. I then drew out a similar design to the size I wanted it to be. To transfer the letters to the board, I drew around each word using tracing paper. I then turned the tracing paper over and marked around each letter using a pencil. I then turned the tracing paper back, lined it up where I wanted the print to be on the board, drew around the letters again, and this transferred the pencil onto the board and gave me an outline of each letter. I could have just printed the text to the correct size to save drawing it out, but I wanted to make the design a little less complicated to make the painting process a little bit easier. An alternative would be to have the words on paper, place a piece of carbon under the paper, draw around the letters, and the carbon will transfer the lettering onto the board. I then painted the letters with Studio Acrylics Opaque. This paint looks really good. It has a kind of metallic look to it, but it does take a couple of coats. An alternative to painting the letters would be to decoupage the text on. I have covered decoupaging with printer paper in another video, and it would be a quicker way to do it, but it would give a different look to your finished piece. You would also need to bear in mind that you need to match the background of the paper with the background of the board. Now that the letters were dry, it was time to get to the really fun bit and start positioning the flowers ready for gluing. Something that I really needed to be mindful of is that once a flower was glued in place, it would not be easy to place a leaf underneath. So I just needed to be a bit mindful of where the leaves were going to go underneath the flowers. I played around with this for ages, and then I just decided that I needed to take the plunge and start gluing them down. To glue them down, I used E6000 and hot glue. E6000 because it has never let me down, and a bit of hot glue for a quick set, just to keep things in place until the E6000 dried. This is all glued down nicely. It feels really solid. Obviously I'm not going to start riving it, but everything feels like it's glued nice and hard. We are on next day, so these have been left overnight, and it's more of the same. More gluing and deciding where to place things that we think look nice. She says sticking around in some paint. Now, one thing that I do need to be careful of is there is a trim where the frame's going to go, so I need to at least leave a bit of space at the top. Can't have anything coming too close to the top because I don't want there to be a problem with the frame. So I'm thinking I remember I had them yesterday when I decided how I wanted them to look. Maybe like that. And that works quite nice. And then we've got that blue one. What did I do with that blue one? Yeah. That one right at the very top. And I've created a stick for that here. So we need to somehow stick that so that it looks like it's coming from there. Now this bit, and then that side is done, and we've just got this side to do. Exciting. Okay, so for this side, we've got these. I then repeated the process on the other side of the writing and then popped just a few small flowers and leaves at the bottom. I then added a little flat back pearl to the centre of all the small pink and blue flowers. It was then onto the frame. I really like this frame silver, but with what I had planned for the room and the wall that this was going on, the footage is yet to be filmed, I needed the frame to be white. so I reluctantly painted it with French Chic Whitey White, and it took 2 coats. I say reluctantly because in my head I had this nagging doubt that I would regret it. I don't. I absolutely love it. I'm so glad I took the plunge and painted it white. Remember this? Well, as promised, let's see it now. I decoupaged the print on this one just so you can see what this technique can look like. Let's have a reminder and see it then. And let's see it now. This is my biggest clay project to date. The time and effort that I put into learning how to make these flowers, creating them, painting them, it's all been so worthwhile because the end result is just amazing. If you would like to see in more detail how I created the flowers, then that will be my next video, so make sure that you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out. Also, you can hit the bell button so you get a notification. 80% of my viewers are not subscribed. Just hit that button, it doesn't cost anything. Please, it helps my channel to grow. Just hit that subscribe button. I will be also posting an update on how the bedroom's coming along because I have done a little bit more. So I will be posting an update on that as well. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook. And have I missed anything? I think that about covers it. Oh, I know what I've missed. Leave me a comment, let me know what you think of this, that would be great. I'd love to know what people think. I very rarely get comments, so it would be great to know what you all think. I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.